What's up guys, VenomousStare here with another Terran tutorial video for you Terran players out here suffering on these god-awful maps. This time it's not so much a builder tutorial as it is a general concept tutorial. This is going to be a video about the power of the drop, the Terran medevac and how it works versus Protoss. Now I will say that a lot of these concepts can be applied to versus Zerg matchup too, but I'm just going to keep it Protoss specific this game. So the idea behind this replay is that I fuck up a lot. I make a lot of mistakes, and there's several times when I fall behind severely, and I'm just going to kind of show you, even when you fuck up and fall behind, you can use the drop to come back. So I went for this cheeky little 1-Rax Reaper joke build. Now I was just experimenting and doing dumb shit on ladder, honestly. The idea was to build a proxy barracks and have it pump Reapers and then build a barracks at home. But this player was good enough to realize the timing of the barracks was off, and he came down here and scouted the barracks. So this is completely failed. I saw the probe go up and wanted to try to kill it, which was a mistake. I made a forward bunker. He's just going to make 3 pylons, and he already has a mothership core, so this is completely and holistically failed. So we're going to do some damage control. Oh shit, the volume's probably way too loud. Oh no, it's fine. So obviously this is a failure, and with the mothership core and zealot I can't even bail out and run. So he has warp gate, mothership core on the way, and he has tech, or he has lots of gas. He can throw down any tech he wants. He could even fucking do Robo and Forge. He could go Robo and Twilight, but he's going to expand. So I'm going to expand too, just barely ahead of him, and continue to make Reapers. I'm also going to fly this barracks, and I really doubt this will live. But see, this is the problem. Reapers are bad for fighting early on. I had to fly the barracks because of the mothership core. I have 1 barracks, and I'm making an add-on because it can't just single pump. And I have 1 factory with no attachment. And I don't have any money. I'm not macroing poorly as far as floating. And he's going to rush with this little probe here and put down pylons. Obviously this is for a mothership core overcharge. Here I don't have enough time to put a tech lab down on the factory for a tank. So I'm just hoping that I can hold out and I don't have to cancel this. And I know I said this would be about drops. Obviously the starport's about to finish. After this little phase of the game ends, it will be about drops. So this barracks is going to make it, and his base, QP Lamar, by the way, Lamar, his expansion finishes, and obviously mine has been severely delayed. This should be producing. This is a huge macro error. Really, really bad for these 2 buildings to be idle. Horrendous, one might say. There you go. But I have a Viking now, so the mothership core will die. So if we go back to the Protoss base, he has a Forge and he has a Robo. Kind of let his macro slip a bit, but he's doing doing a weird 3 pylon push. So this is kind of a bizarre mix of units to have. I did a weird cheesy Reaper build, but here's where the video gets good, guys. First we had to see me fail, so we had the context of me getting behind. Now that the starport's out, we will see some medevac action. Now this is a little deviation that you can do. Whenever you play cheese games against Protoss, build a quick liberator. When you go fast starport like I did, it's really good to build a quick liberator, especially when you don't have existing units to drop. and the no stim Marine Reaper drop is worthless. So the one Liberator is good because you can be obnoxious and do shit like this. And honestly, I don't play like a whole lot of Liberator styles. More of a bio player, so I don't have enough experience to know all like the really obnoxious spots. Oh, if you play someone who's good with Liberators, they can build two and do crazy shit where they like siege one behind your mineral line and trap the other. That's more against Zerg though. And honestly, I should have dipped around back here and attacked. But as long as I didn't lose the Liberator, it was fine. And we see 7 kills, and if we go to unit tab, we're even on workers now. So that little Liberator harassed it is good. So here we go. We have a factory producing tanks. Now the reason that I'm producing tanks is because we're playing on arena, and there's a very short ground rush distance. So we need to play a very beefy, robust style to ensure that if the Protoss just makes a robo, makes a couple of mortals, says fuck it and pushes us, we don't just die. Because on this map is obviously, it's very inviting to do something like that because of this. This pathway, of course, is abnormally short. Much maps have a much longer rush distance. This is another thing, whenever you play low econ games, you usually can't afford to build 2 engineering bays immediately. So one thing I like to do is build the 1 engineering bay and then start my upgrade, start my armory, and then later on add my 2nd E-bay. This allows you to commit to more units. And on this map, I'm very, very worried that he's going to just make immortals and do an aggressive push or play aggressively. And I don't really want to rely on pure bio. I want to build a siege tank backbone because siege tanks are very good for short rush distance attacks. So by playing the siege tank style, which is kind of abnormal versus Protoss, I allow myself to not only be defensive, but be aggressive in the mid to late game once I have a solid siege tank backbone established. Right now it's at 3, that's not very good. And they're very expensive, and whenever you play siege tank styles, it's very important to constantly build them and not let your macros slip like I'm doing now. The Protoss Lamar has taken a 3rd. Now this is kind of normal for the situation that we're in, I feel like. I've kind of out-macroed him and just brute forced my way back into the game by constantly producing more workers and constantly producing more units and harassing and not getting supply blocked. That's macro. And I think I was definitely behind after my failed jokish proxy barracks and after his attack. But if we just are crisp with our units and are crisp with our worker making and try to make our upgrade buildings in intelligent times, then we can get back in games we fell behind in. As we can see, I'm 20 supply up right now, and I was pretty damn behind earlier. This is another must thing on this map. You should always commit to defending this tower, because this tower controls this choke, which is the pinnacle of this map and where most of the conflict will take place. So controlling this tower is very important because you never want to be caught off guard. Because if you are on this map, you get hit right in the mouth almost immediately. And if you're Zerg, that's almost a free loss. And it can be very detrimental in this matchup too, obviously. But specifically, Zerg, they make a lot of drones. They don't like to make non-drones. So that is opposed to Terran and Protoss make workers and attacking units at the same time. The way the Zerg race is designed is they want to make exclusively workers for as long as they can and then fighting units. I'm sure a lot of you already knew that, but there's some new viewers out there who probably didn't. One thing that I did not do in this game that I would recommend doing is just making a turret at your natural as Terran in the mid game, because people will fly observers out and try to find your army. Lots of times your army is rallied to your natural. So if you have a turret in your natural, that's something the Protoss always has to deal with. And it also prevents Dark Templar harassment. If we see Lamar, he's seen the third. This is a very good spot. You should put supply depots, because oftentimes Protoss players will fly a warp prism up here or make pylons over here. So you need to be able to see this high ground, because you don't want them to have 50 blink stalkers come up here and hit you right in the face and blink back up. That would be very bad. So I kind of half-assed it. I am dropping here. So this is what I should have been talking about, and this was really the first drop. So he was ahead. He had lots of workers, and this third base completely established on me. Now I had been producing workers the whole time, so I was able to do a big transfer. And if we go to units, I'm now ahead. That's macro. So what I did there was I dropped, I prevented his fourth base from going down, he had a probe come over, and then I ran in and I focused workers heavily with the drop, while leaving the other one behind because I saw he was diverting his whole army. Now he just now resaturated gas, and for Protoss it's very important to have maximum gas saturation. Now back to what I was saying, I kind of half-assed my defense here. What I should have done is made the depot and moved a few units up here and like shift commanded moved to clear out pylons, just preemptively assuming he had pylons. So this is a little counterattack I did. You always want to be pressuring your opponent. You always want to be fucking with them as Terran, especially if you have a big economy. You always want to be making them make the moves. So he has Dark Templar here. I have a turret, but he focuses it down because he warped in 3. It is very important to not let these do damage, and I scan a bit late there, and unfortunately friendly fire, I think, one worker and let a tank die. One thing that you do not need to do is make a bunker here, unless you are playing against Zerg. Don't do this versus Protoss because it makes your army immobile. You get trapped over here and can't defend shit that happens over here. So at this point, whenever the Dark Templar came from over here, power of deduction, I should have gotten my shit together and moved out, started looking for a warp prism or a pylon, and we can see, there it is, I just now see it.
Mineral field depleted.
And if we go to everyone vision, I see he has a lot of stuff. And I was trying to take a fourth. So I moved my medevacs over, but I don't really have enough bio. Siege tanks need to be moved forward and moved over here to help defend this third. Storm's going down. I really should be splitting my army better here and splitting my tanks over here. Now this is a colossal fuck up. Because of this bunker, I'm inhibited from defending this base, and this was such a mindfuck to me in the moment. This and dealing with Storm at the same time caught me so off guard that I was actually bad enough to not lift this base and evacuate the workers. So I lose this base. Thankfully I have my fourth still, but this is what I was talking about. I made huge mistakes this game, mistakes that really should have made me win the game. As we see, he's like double my workers. He has a starport. He has so much tech. I have no right to win this game, but I'm going to show you how to come back when you're insanely far behind in games like this. Because really, all he has to do is a few warp-in cycles. He has 4 gateways coming, and we're already back. We'll be back at even supply. So notice, even despite the fact that I'm taking all the damage, you have to continue to produce bio all game as Terran. And see, this is exactly what I was talking about that I should have done earlier. I just got 4 Marines. I hit A, left click, and then held down shift, and then clicked around my mini-map, and that made these Marines go on a little goodwill hunting mission for pylons. And when that happened, I also pushed mid-map because I wanted him to commit his army to either defending this or defending the other thing. And I was not expecting storms there, or his army to be there. I don't know why, probably because I'm shit. It's very important versus Protoss zealot compositions to stutter step and go marauders, at least a few marauders, so their slow shot can prevent you from being just devastated. And part of why micro like that is important is because it frees up actions per minute for me. I'll explain, that was a terrible explanation. So the reason that it's important to micro those units, even though we know that they're going to die, is it enables me to send my other units to his bases. See this? This is the shift command. These were the same guys that I sent to clear out pylons over here. They missed that one, but now, see how much damage this has already taken? Now this guy has to react to this, because if I stem, it's going to kill the base, because they have +2. So he has to commit to this. He has to commit to this army, and the rush distance is so short that I can constantly attack these bases, and then wow, hit him in the mouth with my rallied units because the rush distance is so short. Whenever you play this map, you always have to consider the fact that you can drop and quickly quickly do an attack through the middle. By the way, note this widow mine. Do this. Put widow mines throughout this corridor. But we see that I did that obnoxious micro, I got a cannon, and the reason that that's important, even though that it's taking so much of our effort, is because it delayed him for 20 seconds and allowed these units to get over here. So now oh shit, I'm dealing with this. He just now sees these units coming because the observer died, and he's like, well shit, these two gateways aren't turned on. This is what happens when you multitask and fuck with your opponent excessively, is you make them make mistakes. So much about StarCraft is messing with your opponent and making them make mistakes. Look at that disgusting friendly fire. See that? 4 gateways powered by 1 pylon. This is nicknamed an Artosis pylon, and whenever you see pylons like this, whenever you're doing drop heavy play, you always want to prioritize them, because your opponent will be so constantly caught off guard by your drops that making pylons to repower their buildings will become very difficult. Oftentimes what will happen, a couple gateways will become unpowered, the Protoss is split 3 different ways, trying to defend your drops, trying to defend your big army attacks. Suddenly he sees his money start to float. What the hell's going on? He goes to warp in units. He only has 4 active gateways instead of 7 or maybe even 8. These are the little moves that you can do to make your opponent react. And remember, every time you make your opponent react, there's a possibility that they can make a mistake. And that's the key concept to drop play, is you almost want to do so many things so often that it's death by 1,000 cuts and your opponent can't keep up. And even though in theory, like, oh, well, like anyone who's good at the game can make a pylon and repower those gateways. Well, what if you're doing 3 different things, dealing with the drop here, dealing with the drop here? So we see 2 tanks coming forward. This is like the reason why they're good on this map, because I can always siege them here, and they're either going to protect this army or protect the stuff coming forward. And I probably should have repositioned my bio to protect my tanks, but I really thought he had a bigger army. But regardless, I killed the Nexus, so now he has this base, which is mining but oversaturated. This base was destroyed, so he's long distance mining. This base doesn't have any pylon support, so it's vulnerable. And he's built cannons all along his main, wary of the short rush distance by air. And if we look at my base, I'm trying to produce medevacs and tanks constantly. That's what I should prioritize. Those are the money units. Especially considering I only have 1 factory and 1 starport, that really means I should be focusing on that. I don't really have the economy to get upgrades like I want to. Notice this base is oversaturated, this base is mined out, this base is mined out. So once again, I want to point out how behind I am. I'm having to float my main. I had to delay 3-3 upgrades and and armory upgrades. My 3rd base is severely oversaturated, my natural is barely mining. My opponent has over 12 workers. They have over, Jesus Christ, 14 more workers than me, and 2 more bases. As well as this pylon provides an excellent opportunity to harass. So how are we going to win the game? With medevacs and drop ships, aka Terran drops. That made no sense at all. So remember when I said this base wasn't defended? Remember when I ran 4 Marines over on that little A move shift command? And by the way, new players, it's super easy to grab a few units, hit A, left click, hold down shift, and click your mini-map a few times. You don't have to do it like this, but I can't do it in replay, but left click the mini-map. That allowed me to say that he greedily took this base, and the 4 Marines stopped him from putting up pylon support, subsequently meaning that this base was vulnerable. That's why I elected to attack this base. Now the reason that his army's here is because the rush distance is so short. He constantly has to be in fear of this. So if we go to his vision, I've killed the observer, so the only real vision he has across map is this to see drops. So he doesn't know how much of his army to allocate where. What if I attack with my whole army over here? It would be a bit unorthodox. What if I push with my whole army here and he needs his whole army to defend? That's why dropping is so strong. Because if you constantly make the Protoss do things and you force them to make mistakes, then you constantly wear them down. Oh, what if he forgets to make a pylon here if I kill this again? What if I kill all his static defense and just start dropping him from this location? What if I kill the cyber core and he can't deal with subsequent drops because he can only warp in zealots and a few other units that aren't good for dealing with drops? So that's the keystone of this strategy. Constantly messing with people. If we go to APM, I'm playing at 139, which isn't really blistering. You don't have to be a god to use this playstyle. This playstyle can work in lower leagues. But notice my money is low. I mean, gas, you can't really spend Terran gas effectively, but notice how as I do these drops, I'm continuing to produce infantry and tanks despite having a low economy. That's also very important. You new players who want to do this drop heavy strategy, if you're in the lower leagues, you can execute it and win every single game as long as you continue to make workers and expand and macro at home, because no player below Platinum League will ever be able to deal with this shit, ever. It'll just break their brain. A Platinum player or a Gold player with drop harass this intense for a prolonged period, usually people at that league will get so frustrated they'll just rage quit the game pretty quick. So this style is very fun, it's very effective, but it's very important to remember to continue to macro, and it's very important to continue to do what you can to get an economy even when you're very behind, like in this game. So our Protoss player has to decide what to do. Oh shit, I guess I'll defend my main. One mine burrowed, doesn't have an observer, it's been scanned. Big hit from the Widow mine. I'm just gonna pause. Briefly this time. I killed that base. Now all I had to do was hold shift and A move and I could have queued up another attack command and these guys would have ran and fucked this base up too. You don't have to be an APM god micro machine. Just use the fucking shift key, guys. So notice how these 2 tanks are sieged in this choke point. This is why I said the tanks were good on this map, because you can siege them all throughout this area. And at this point, he went and cleaned up this bioforce. So what do? Pressure forward with the other one. And what am I doing the whole time? Trying to macro! StarCraft 101, guys. So we see, oh, you only built 1 pylon. Sorry, dude. Now I need to continue to stem and run up the ramp. That delay was a mistake by me. A little bit of a fail field, as we can see. He's panicking, he's rattled, he's shook. It's like Marco Rubio at that GOP debate, just covered in sweat. He can't even fathom how I'm doing all these things. He doesn't realize that the shift key lets you do multiple commands at once. Look at all these units I have, guys. Now this is another concept that I don't even need to pause to show. This base is saturated in mining, which is nice. This base is severely, strained for resources. It's almost done. I killed this base. He barely has enough minerals to rebuild this pylon. Excuse me. But he never has, like, the only time he sees a probe over here is whenever at long distance mines. So a new player will never think, oh, I need to rebuild this. Not a new player. This guy's not new. He's high rated. But for example, if you're in lower leagues, if you kill this base, it's much less likely that someone will remember to repower their structures, especially when you continue to fuck with them. The thing that I wanted to point out before I got sidetracked was that I killed this base, so he doesn't really have very much mineral income at all. If we look and see the income tab, look, my army completely caught out. Utter garbage. Utter garbage. Didn't have my tank siege. I did not expect his army to be there. I didn't scan ahead. I made another huge mistake. And I still have not upgraded 3-3. Just the defense on the way. As we see, I just recently mule hammered. But look how much more mineral income I have than this Protoss. That's because I've been sniping Nexuses. That's because I've been killing workers. And he's been constantly having to remake workers all game. Another thing that's obvious, but I think I should say anyway, is that whenever you're constantly dropping and attacking the other player, they can't really attack you. Especially not with their main army. Also consider that whenever someone is being constantly harassed, they're more likely to produce attacking units. Whenever you're being dropped in one location and pushed with an army in the other, as we see another drop coming down, at this point I know that this fucking guy's just going to make this one pylon, so I'm going to kill it just to fuck with him. And then I'm going to run up here, finally kill this cannon. Oh, while that's going on, look at that. All the way on the other side of the map, the base that you desperately need to mine is being destroyed. His multitask is being taxed so hard that he can't really macro effectively. His bases are dying, his workers are dying. I was stutter stepping over there. If we go to income, even though this guy's produced workers and expanded as a legitimate, he's like not a bad player. He's not a bad macro player. And we can see I made tons of mistakes and really played like an idiot. That's the power of drops, man. That's the power of drops and the power of multitasking in StarCraft 2 and why it's so important. As we see, I just did more shit than the other guy and continued to macro crisply at home. My macro really wasn't even that good this game, but I just continued to make units and workers and make unit producing facilities and never let this guy attack. He was always on the back foot, minus that little DT pressure that he did, which was nice. But look at this. Now this base is severely overburdened. This base hasn't even been rebuilt, nor has this base. This one is mined out. He has 50 minerals and now he's all in. So let's see if I retard out. Oh, look, that's pretty bad. Guzzle that storm. The only way I lose is to bathe in storms like an idiot. Knowing that he doesn't have any economy, I should just play defensive. Look at that split. Beautiful. The only way, whenever you're this ahead in StarCraft 2, because, okay, let's look at my vision. I know I killed that. I know, I can deduce that that's mined out just because I played the game long enough to. So I know that this guy doesn't have much left. This is it. This is the contents of his army. Everything else after this, negligible. So what do I need to do? Be wary of High Templar, which were his unit of choice this game. He didn't go Disruptors or Colossus or Carriers. It's what he planned to use to destroy my bio. Sometimes good players will have High Templars waiting and will be waiting to ambush you. So I don't want to stim like an idiot and bathe storms like I did over in this choke point. So let's see what I do. The stim is good. I really should just chill out and maybe stim forward with a few troops and continue to drop. One thing I want to point out is this guy built 3 cannons, way more than 3. A lot of cannons right where he thought I would drop and preemptively thought that I was going to drop him and was scared of me dropping him. That's the thing about Terran drops, guys. Even if they build static defense, as long as you put Marauders in the medevacs and have fucking upgrades and stim pack, you can rip through static defense as long as you don't fly into it. So if he makes cannons here, drop over here, stem up the ramp. That's what a lot of people don't realize. It's like static defense at a certain point against Terran drops just does nothing. And look at this, I preemptively set up a drop to this base thinking it might be there. Oh look, he's going to go deal with it while the rest of my army's mid-map. Oh, I wonder if he was going to drop more units or potentially drop my fourth. Guess what, buddy? I did. And look at this. Oh, he made 2 pylons this time, but I have a whole army. And see, this is the perfect example of a game that I really didn't play well at all, and kind of was shit for a lot of it and made lots of terrible mistakes, but that's the power of the Terran drop, guys. Absolute evisceration. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe. If you are going to win lots of ladder games because you know how to drop and know how to make units while you're dropping, give me a like, give me a comment. Peace out.